So for those of you who don't know, the CMA, that's the Competition and Markets Authority for the UK, released a statement saying that the Activision Blizzard acquisition was going to be harmful to gaming. It was going to harm consumers and harm gaming competition. Now, this is obviously a load of BS, and if you ever wanted to see an example of political corruption in gaming, look no further than this. Look no further than this. We all know that the UK is a pony nation. We all know that they're in Sony's pockets. We all know that that's Sony's bread and butter, and this is an example of it. Their document that they released was full of nothing but lies, disingenuousness, propaganda, and nothing but anti-Microsoft, Sony PR BS. That's all it was. Let's take a look at some of the BS they said. PlayStation currently has a larger share of the console gaming market than Xbox, but the CMA considers that Call of Duty is sufficiently important that losing access to it could significantly impact Sony's revenues and user base. Lies, false. Microsoft already addressed that Call of Duty was going to remain on PlayStation, so this shows a lack of research. Next time you guys want to have an investigation on an acquisition or a merger, please find someone who actually knows something about gaming industry and knows something about the merger in question, because whoever wrote this don't know what the hell they're talking about. Let's continue reading. This impact is likely to be felt especially at the launch of the next generation of consoles, where gamers make fresh decisions about which console to buy. So basically, you have a problem with this acquisition because more people might want to buy an Xbox because of the acquisition. Why is that a problem? That ain't none of your damn business. For one, it does not matter whether Xbox sells more or whether PlayStation sells more. That's not your job. Your job isn't to worry about Sony's bottom line. Your job is to make sure that there's fair competition. Microsoft, by your own admission, is not the market leader. You guys admitted in this document that Sony is the market leader. So why is it a problem for the person in third place to to acquire a company so that they can be more competitive? See, you claim to be for competition and you claim that you want things to remain competitive, but when the third place makes a move to try and make themselves more competitive, you try to shut it down. See, you're all for competition as long as Sony is the one being competitive. See, you don't mind Sony acquiring all these studios and doing all these things as long as they're number one. You don't mind that. They go on to say, the CMA believes that the merger could therefore significantly weaken Microsoft's closest rival. So what? Microsoft is in third place. Why are they not allowed to make moves that weaken their rival or strengthen their hand? Do you know how many moves Sony has made to weaken Microsoft? And we don't hear people. The CMA found that the potential strategic benefits to Microsoft using ABK's content to foreclose rivals, such as expanding Game Pass user base and strengthening network effects in its gaming systems, could outweigh any immediate losses in terms of licensing revenues. So what? Why is this a problem? Literally what they're saying is, well, Microsoft can negate some of the negative impacts of putting their games in Game Pass. What's the problem with that? What's the problem? Why? What? They're literally saying, we don't like this acquisition because it makes Microsoft better and we need Microsoft to stay in their place. We don't want them to have any competition. We don't want them to be competitive. We want them to remain in third place. We don't want them to do better. That isn't right and that isn't fair. That's not fair competition. That's like, you're literally complaining that, oh well, Microsoft found a way to make their product better. Microsoft found a way to make more money. And then yeah, they admit, the CMA believes that in the short to medium term, the main rival that could be affected by this conduct would be Sony. They're admitting, listen, if this didn't affect Sony, we wouldn't give a damn. But we need Sony to be number one. They in our pockets. That's Sony. We don't want them to have any competition. So no, we have a problem with this. This is absolute BS. So we've established that the UK is in Sony's pocket. They're biased. They're one-sided. It's nothing but Sony propaganda and that they hate Microsoft. Okay, we've established that. But let's go a step deeper. The CMA is claiming that this is going to be anti-consumer and harmful to the gaming community. Okay, let's talk about what's harmful to the gaming community. Sony raised their prices to $70 in the middle of a pandemic. $70 in the middle of a pandemic. What is more anti-consumer than that? They, as the market leader, raise the price to $70. As the market leader, they knew since they were number one, they could raise the price to $70 and no one could say anything. Not a peep. No one cared about competition then. No one cared about consumers then. See, they don't really care about consumers. That's the first lie that they said in this document, that it's anti-consumer. They don't give a damn about consumers, because actually Microsoft getting Activision Blizzard is pro-consumer, because the games under Microsoft would be $60, not $70. That's pro-consumer. If Microsoft buys a company, their games are going to be $60 because Microsoft is doing pro-consumer practices. Sony is the one who's charging $70 for their games. So if anything, this would actually help the consumer. And even further, to go even further, this would further help the consumer because it's going into Game Pass, a subscription service. And we all know the Game Pass is pro-consumer because you can play hundreds of games for the price of $10 a month. That's pro-consumer, but they don't actually care about consumers. They using that BS so that they can pretend that they care about consumers, but they only care about Sony's bottom line. Let's go even further. Sony's the one with all these signed exclusives. Sony's the one with the Final Fantasy VII, Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo. They literally paid to keep games exclusive to their ecosystem. That is quote-unquote anti-consumer. Sony has literally paid companies just to keep their games off Game Pass. Now, Game Pass is pro-consumer, and as for the consumers, Sony would rather pay people to keep their games off of Game Pass than put games on PlayStation Plus. They're literally paying companies to keep their games off of Game Pass. Hey, you can release the game anywhere, just don't put it on Game Pass. Instead of them using that money to invest in their own ecosystem and make it to where they can release their own games on their subscription service. But we don't hear nothing about that. That's fine, because it's Sony. They can do what they want, even though they're the market leader. And the biggest thing, PlayStation literally raised the price of their console. They raised the price of the PlayStation 5. This isn't a brand new console or some PlayStation 5 Slim model. It's the same model, and they raised the price of it. But not a peep from anybody. No, that's fine. That's not anti-consumer, raising the price of the console during inflation. That's not anti-consumer, even though Xbox didn't raise the price of theirs. Sony is literally for the payers. Like, they nickel and dime you for everything. You gotta pay for cloud saves. You gotta pay for backwards compatibility. You gotta pay for next-gen upgrades. You see what I'm saying, guys? You see the phony baloney, the BS that the CMA is on, and how they're choosing sides? This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Peace.